Now, let's get into the papers now, see what the headlines are across Nigeria. I have with me in the studio a lecturer from the University of Lagos, Dr. Dane Kere is here, as well as broadcast journalist, TV host Yinka Kenny. Good morning. In the press, there is no lady, so good morning. Well, it's good to see you. Dr. Kere, thank you very much for coming. Yinka Kenny, nice to see you. All right, let's begin with Blueprint newspaper this morning. It says, for gross abuse of court process on BRYELSA, Supreme Court slams 60 million naira fine on Afe Babalola Olanipekun. Now, he insists Diri remains governor. APC council to pay PDP governor deputy 20 million naira each. And PDP says it's victory for democracy. APC keeps mum on this. Now, stop mockery of Apex Court. CSOs warn politicians. All right, I certainly know my guests will like to talk about this as we get along. Daily Trust is the next one now, and he says land grabbers threaten 2 trillion naira Mambilla power projects. Okay, from the Daily Trust, let's go to Daily Times. And it says, again, Diri PDP floor APC lion at Supreme Court. Applications for review of BRYELSA Goba judgment, vexations frivolous, says Supreme Court. Slams 60 million naira fine against Afe Babalola and Olanipekun for that. All right, from the Daily Times, let's go now to the leadership newspaper, still talking about the same thing. Supreme Court affirms Lion's sack, warns against frivolous appeals. Fined defense lawyers and others 60 million naira. And the APC keeps mum as PDP insists on reversal of Imo judgment. Okay, from the leadership, let's go to News Direct now, and it's talking about the new petroleum law. Foreign firms eye indigenous firms as Doris Group, IESL, established a JV firm. Oh, that's in the business side of things. Okay, now let's come to this issue. It has never been in the history of the Supreme Court in Nigeria to come up with a judgment over an issue and then come back and reverse that judgment. Apart from maybe error in technicalities just to set the record straight. But this appeal now, a lot of people said if it's allowed to scale through, then we can go back to 1963, go back to 1970 something, and review all the cases that Nigeria has ever put behind them. Let me start with you, Dr. Kere, on this.
Yeah, it's really interesting, you know. But we must avoid supreme controversies, you know, because when you want to blame the bushfowl that is busy eating your cassava, you should wonder whether cassava is supposed to grow up or under, you know. so those challenges are there. Okay. No, but what makes it supreme is because his decision is final. That's the bottom line. And it's clear that once the judgment comes from that particular court, the matter is settled. We saw the case of Al Gore the other time in the U.S. Even when it was clear to the rest of the world, including the United States people, that this thing was somehow, the man stayed, I mean, that was the decision. There was practically nothing else he could do. So we should learn to abide by the rulings of our courts, particularly when it gets to the apex court. And truly, if that decision was reversed, a lot of challenges would have been thrown out. I just cannot imagine what would have happened. I just cannot. You know, but that equally places a lot of obligation, a lot of responsibility on the judges of the Supreme Court. As long as you know that your own version of any statement with respect to the law is the final, then you must do due diligence. Be sure that what you are bringing out actually stands. It's something that can stand, not the one that tomorrow you begin to, because we've seen cases where they said you can't use this as a precedent, which that's admittance of error on their part. Now, we must live above that, but at the same time, they are humans, you know, and don't equally forget that the way the law is structured, if a man like Afe Babalola will go to court, a man like Olanipekun will go to court, and the court is doing this, giving this kind of judgment against them. Now, does it not bother you that, is it that they don't know the law? Is it that they are trying to, you know, just try to ridicule the system or something? But you cannot really tell, because the nature of the law is such that practically every lawyer is a speculator until the judge declares his position. So you would want to always try
an opportunity to test.
Yes,
let's just even test
that is
it.
the nature of it.
Let's just test it and
you
see
must
what
try
comes
your own
out.
first. Yes. You know,
it's like exploring for oil somewhere. You don't know whether you're going to get anything. But let's just try.
Let's try. Let's see what is good. That's the way it is.
Okay. Now, Yinka Kenny, the point there is, we've seen in recent times this request is not just the BRYELSA case. We've seen the Imo governorship decision too, where they're saying we have to go back to the Supreme Court to try to make them review that case and all of that. Now, what they're saying, like Dr. Kerry is saying, is that senior lawyers who understand, in fact, who are institutions within themselves, who know the ins and outs of the law, turn it right upside down.
They're supposed to be authority.
They are authority in their own respect and all of that, are still the ones who are. So how does it make us lay people who are not lawyers understand how these things work from your perspective?
Well, I just want to, I like to go back to the family end. You have the head of the home and the wife, the husband and the wife. There's been a lot of back and forth. We want this child to go to this institution, back and forth. And after a lot of back and forth, the man says, okay, this is the higher institution this boy is going to go to. He makes the payment, the boy is in school. And because the boy is in school, he doesn't like what he sees there. He comes back to his mom to say, Mom, please, I think we can still go back to Daddy. Let's see how we can cajole Daddy, to change.
And withdraw the school, withdraw myself from the school and maybe go to somewhere else.
You see, and if the man knows that he's the authority, he calls the shots, he pays the bill, he will stand on his decision. You are there, this is the decision. After all, we laid our cards on the table, and this was the decision we arrived at. So I feel that it's even an insult, on the part of the Supreme Court. And for me, it's an insult to the judiciary as a whole, because revisiting, going back to, which means the Supreme Court does not have a final say, authority, or probably the Supreme Court wasn't sure of its decision at that point in time, or probably there were some hiccups and all that. If those that we believe that they should be authority in the field.
Yeah, because these cases came from the tribunal level to the appeal court, and then
they moved on and on, and
you
see, so for me it's an insult on the Supreme Court. And in fact, when I heard that it was the Afe Babalola that was going to be on top of the case, I was like, for real? Is for real? But I think the Supreme Court is giving a kind of confidence to Nigerians that at least for once in the history of the country, we can begin to believe in our judiciary. We can begin to have a kind of trust and, somehow
confidence.
Exactly, in our judiciary, not to be partisan, because that is why they are there. Because in the past, the common man out there believes that you can almost predict that, oh, this person won, this person lost, this person is going to court, oh, this is what is going to be the judgment. But these days, it's no more business as usual. So the layman can begin to start to, want to develop the kind of trust, in the judiciary that, okay, let them go to court. The judiciary is going to do the right thing. Let's go back to Imo State, where initially I a little bit faulted the Supreme Court was that when the uproar was so much, the Supreme Court came out to say that they were going to give reasons for their judgment. For me, I don't think you've given your judgment, everything has been said in court, so why trying to pamper? Why trying to, make it feel as if, okay, this is the reason I did this is the reason I did, so you shouldn't feel bad. You've made your judgment, and that is why any other person can come up to say that, okay, we need a review of this. You can still go back, not only look into why, not only tell us the reason you decided on this. You have to revisit your own judgment. I feel that's an insult, but it's a step in the right direction. Okay. At least we can begin to have confidence in our judiciary.
All right. Now, Dr. Kerry, although we're not lawyers, but the point there is we are bound by how the Supreme Court acts because it's on our behalf. We might have any reason to be, because it's part of the institution that strengthens who we are and our society and all of that. How does this give strength to the judiciary as an institution?
Oh, clearly, this judgment, to my mind, has actually placed the judiciary in the right position. You know, because if this had not taken place, what our politicians are capable of doing, you cannot even imagine it. I'm telling you, you can't even imagine it. So a lot of things would have happened. A lot of, if anything untoward had taken place, aside what has happened now, I can guarantee you that there would not be any court anymore. Because, you see, but again, yes, I do know that there has been precedents such that the Supreme Court will give a ruling and advance reasons later. Yeah. You know, it has been happening. But my worry is that since they are not usually rushed into giving judgment, what stops them from actually attaching the reasons to the judgment at the same time? Why wait till some years later, some days later, some months later to tell us why you have taken it? Why should be the reason? In fact, that is the background for the action you are taking. You know,
they are the learned ones.
Exactly.
They are the learned ones. We are not.
As of last week, you see, they are beginning to come up with, they want to revisit the Osun State judgment. They want to revisit the presidential.
Exactly.
Exactly. Before you know what is happening, they are going to bring out the skeleton from the grave.
All right, we have to leave it here now. But one thing we all agree is that it goes a long way to strengthen an institution in Nigeria.
I doff my cap for this.
It's okay. Thank you very much, Yinka Kenny, for coming on the program. Dr. Danikere, thank you very much as well.
Pleasure is mine.
Right.
It's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigeria newspapers. I have with me in the studio a lecturer from the University of Lagos, Dr. Dan Ekere, and a broadcast journalist, TV host, Yinka Kenny. Good morning, lady and gentlemen. Good morning. There's no gentlemen of the press. All right.
No gentlemen of the press.
All right, let's head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the blueprint. For gross abuse of court process on BRYELSA, Supreme Court slams a 60 million naira fine on Afe Babalola's Olanipekun. Insists Diri remains governor. APC council to pay PDP governor, deputy 20 million naira each. PDP says it's victory for democracy. APC mom. Stop mockery of Apex Court. CSOs warn politicians. To the Daily Trust, the land grabbers threaten N2trn Mambilla power project. And under the front page of the Daily Times, again, Diri, PDP floor APC, lion at Supreme Court. Applications for review of BRYELSA Guba judgment, vexatious, frivolous, says Supreme Court. Slam 60 million naira fine against Afe Babalola, Olanipekun. To the News Direct now, new petroleum law, foreign firms eye indigenous firms as Doris Group, IESL, establish JV firm. To the Leadership newspaper, Supreme Court affirms Lion sack once against frivolous appeals, fine defense lawyers other 60 million naira. APC keeps mum as PDP insists on reversal of Imo judgment. The Nation newspaper is next. Supreme Court, a decision final, no matter how anybody feels. BRYELSA verdict final for all ages. Court slams fine on Afe Olanipekun. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Sun, Chibok under attack. ISWAP strikes community, abducts civilian JTF boss, others. Buhari orders the military to rejig strategy. And I'm certain this will interest my guests here at the moment. Another attack just a week after an attack happened in Korogulum, one of the communities in Chibok. Sad and a sad developing story, I must say, Yinka Kenny. I wonder how you feel about this. Honestly. Seeing that the family are yet to recover from even, the abduction of their girls.
Honestly, first off, as a woman, it's saddening because you can understand the fact that even when you're at home and you send your children on errand and it's like they're wasting too much time, you begin to get this form of anxiety. What's happening? Well, even when the child comes back, you're like, where have you been? You kept me. So you can imagine this poor citizen. These people are so helpless. These people are, they don't even have an option, because I want to believe that if with all the crisis they've been having, the attacks that's been coming.
Back.
I'm telling you, if they had an option, they would have fled, they would have left. It's almost, you know, like we were saying, it's like there's more to the Chibok that
meets the eye, that we know.
Honestly, that we know. And I must say that the security outfit and doing real justice to the situation, because it seems as if they're having a field time. You just walk in there, you just, you know, rampage, and then you move out without anybody attacking. You know, at other places you find that probably when they go there to attack them, there's a counter attack, and probably the casualties could be reduced. But in the case of Chibok, it's like they have a field day. They just walk in there and do what they ought to do. I feel that at the top, a lot of investigation has to go on, and the security needs to be tightened, because these people cannot be thrown into mourning at every point in time.
All right, Dr. Ekere, the president is asking or ordering the military to rejig its strategy with regards to this issue. I wonder what you make of this.
It's okay. Well, it's interesting that that is coming from the presidency. Now, who is rejigging what now?
It's asking the military to rejig their strategy to nip this in the bud.
Because from what we have seen, though we cannot say that the challenge per se lies squarely on the doorstep of the army chiefs, but then they are the ones commanding. The same persons, Nigerians have been calling for their removal and the rest over time, that they've exhausted strategies. You want them to rejig.
But the presidency does not see reasons to that. So perhaps maybe if they rejig their strategy.
So we are looking, now that the president has, which means the president knows that there's something still left in them that they can do. We are actually looking forward to seeing it. Let them rejig whatever strategies they have. The most important thing to us is to ensure that we are safe, that Nigerians are safe, that insurgency is reduced, all manner of, all the crises everywhere with respect to killings, kidnapping, and the rest. We just talked about Chibok. Now, Chibok is one community that I was thinking by now there should more or less is station security there.
Stand by.
Let them be on the standby. Because clearly, when you look at the several attacks that have been launched on that community, it will be clear to you that perhaps there's something very significant about Chibok. It's either that the place is seen to be porous, to be weak, that such that you can do anything and get out with more to it, that we know. So I was expecting that the security should be tightened in such a place.
Community.
Yes. Now, that has not happened. And it is still happening everywhere. I was actually thinking that at this moment, the National Assembly that is even clamoring for the removal of the chiefs should even, they should tinker with the law itself that actually brought about all of this. Because if we are not addressing the challenge of security to the point of the states taking charge in a way, and now we now have a kind of a national supervisory body. If we leave it,
from this case, it seems the governor is helpless.
Yeah, that is it. You just call him a chief security officer by just the name. But in terms of act, he doesn't have what it takes to secure anything. He is not even secured. At least we heard of a governor who relocated from his own state, more or less running away from the challenge. So what is he going to do about that? So I am thinking that this thing is beyond, for the army to rejig their strategies, there are chances that you need to bring in fresh hands in a way. You need to bring in fresh hands. Because there will be this drive for, you want to tell the world that you have something to offer. Sometimes when you get such a position newly, but now these guys have been so entrenched, such that maybe they don't even see
but
it.
The lives of the people
they are not the ones at the battlefront anyway.
But the lives of the people here have been threatened because you see it's becoming a weekly affair. How do they move from here?
Well, let's see how they rejig their strategy, because it is critical.
The rejigging and rejigging, we've heard this for the opting time. I feel that at this point, if we really need maybe external forces or something to assist us in this issue, let's cry for help.
All right, Yinka Kenny, Dr. Dan Ekere, thank you for speaking with us.
To the papers now, see what the headlines are. We'll start certainly from the blueprint, but I have with me from the University of Lagos, Dr. Dan Ekere is here, as well as broadcast journalist and colleague in the industry, Yinka Kenny. Nice to see you.
A pleasure.
All right. Now let's start from the Blueprint newspaper. For gross abuse of court process on BRYELSA, Supreme Court slams 60 million naira fine on Afe Babalola and Olanipekun, and insists Diri remains governor. APC council to pay PDP governor deputy 20 million naira each. And PDP says it's victory for democracy, APC mum. And stop mockery of Apex Court, CSO warn politicians. Okay. From the blueprint, let's go to Daily Trust now. Land grabbers threaten 2 trillion naira Mambilla power project. That's on the Daily Trust. From there, let's go to the Daily Times. Daily Times says again, Diri, PDP, floor APC lion at Supreme Court. And applications for review of BRYELSA Goba judgment vexatious, frivolous, says Supreme Court. And slams 60 million naira fine against Afe Babalola and Olanipekun. Right? From there, let's go to the News Direct. News Direct is focusing on the new petroleum law. Foreign firms eye indigenous firms. As Doris Group, the IESL established JV firm. Okay, from there, let's go to the Leadership newspaper. And it is taking us back to the Supreme Court. And it says Supreme Court affirms Lion sack, warns against frivolous appeals. And fine defense lawyers, others 60 million naira. And APC keeps mum as PDP insists on reversal of Imo judgment. Okay. From there, let's go now to the Nation newspaper. It says Supreme Court decision is final no matter how anybody feels. BRYELSA verdicts final for all ages. A court slams fine on Afe Babalola and Olanipekun. All right, the Nation. That's what it says there. Now let's go to the final paper now, the Vanguard, and it focuses on insurgency. Depressed soldier shoots 7, kills self. 4 dead, 3 others critically injured. We are investigating circumstances that led to the incident, as the army is saying that. Says the 5 soldiers were shot with 2 deaths. An ISWAP attacks Chibok village, abducts head of civilian JTF, others. And Buhari asks military to deal mercilessly with ISWAP terrorists. Tension in Benue as herdsmen take over communities in 4 local government areas. That's really scary. All right, but my guests in the studio, this will interest you. When this story came out yesterday, it was quite troubling to hear that a member of the military with his colleagues shot about 4 persons and then shot himself. These are soldiers who are under Operation Lafia Dole fighting terrorism in the northeast. How troubling is this? Let me start with you, Yinka Kenny. Let me start with you on this because it's saying that a depressed soldier.
Exactly. What brings about depression in the first place is when you have a lot of worries, you have a lot of at times you're not satisfied with the situation you find yourself in. At times you have so many things troubling you. Things are not working the way you expect that it should work. These are things that brings about depression. Now let's go back to the soldiers. These are people that they are at the war front. The man we know, we've seen a lot of videos flying all about pictures don't tell lies. You know, we've seen the way they are, the way they, in fact, the look they have, the way they feed, the way even come to talk about the ammunitions that they have. At times, the enemy they are supposed to attack has more sophisticated ammunitions than them. They see their colleagues dying on a daily basis. These are things that are enough to cause depression to a normal human being, not to talk of a man that is at the battlefront. A man at the battlefront, he has a wife, he has children at home, he has responsibilities. Now, what are the things that are motivating him to, to do the job? You wake up in the morning, you come to TVC because you are being motivated. You have some incentives, you have, your salary is going on, you're not hungry, your home front is doing well. Now, their case is not like that. It's unfortunate, to whom much is given, much is expected. But how much are you giving to these people? These are things that definitely will cause depression to any human being, not to talk of these soldiers. Of course, it's just unfortunate we find ourselves at this junction. And at times you sit down and you want to wonder, what happens to all the billions of naira, the security funds, what is happening? You hear money for this, money for that. Is it that this money is lost in transit? Is it that this money is not getting to the right, you know, the right source or to the right people that are supposed to get it. A lot of things. These are people, they see their colleagues die and they see that their families, nothing has been done to them.
All right. Let me bring Dr. Kerry in here. Now, the point there is, like Yinka Kenny said, we have seen lots of videos that have gone viral, you know, sending messages from soldiers in the battlefront saying that sometimes we don't have water to drink, other times we don't have food to eat, other times we don't have enough equipment. In fact, there was one of the videos I saw some of the times saying that they had to put monies together, you know, to get Gary to take in the battlefront. And that's the Nigerian army. Now, what signal does this send? If you see this headline on Vanguard now, what do you think what signal is this sending?
A very worrisome signal.
Things could get even worse.
Very worrisome signal. I pity, you know, those who are at the battlefront. You know, as a matter of fact, each time we talk about the commanders and the rest, they are not the ones who are fighting the battle. Yes, and if a man is fighting with an empty stomach, you are prepared to defend your country, you are prepared to die for your country, then I do not expect that should equally translate into your family die for the country. You know, so if you are sacrificing yourself with the hope that at least some form of care will be taken of your family and the rest of it, and your country will be secured, it gives you some ray of hope. But let that man, before he dies for the country, at least let him be well fed. Let him be fed to the point that motivation will be, you know, inspired and promoted. Unfortunately, we've seen as common as water, they have complained about water. Just water to drink. We're not talking of something else. They don't have it, not to talk of enough. There are issues of food. There are issues of allowances not being paid. And you want somebody. So this things can frustrate somebody. You know, not to talk of seeing those they are killing around you and the rest of it. You do have the weapon. So you look at it. What am I really doing here? And we are all watching. And what is happening? You know, those kind of conditions can provoke what took place. The next thing you hear now is that they want to do investigation. Who is going to do the investigation? The same people who perhaps have brought about this condition. You cannot tell me that the chiefs and the rest of them are not aware of the condition of this young man there. Somebody who has gotten to that point needs to be properly, you know, the mere sight of a war brings a lot of, you know, feelings, reactions, and the rest of it. Under your watch, you are seeing this. Sometimes you begin to imagine that, oh, because they are trained in it, that it doesn't go that way.
They're still humans.
They are as human as every other person. Blood flows in their veins. So you must give them the right condition for them to be able to deliver.
To keep their morale high.
Indeed. Okay. Once the morale is high, the tendency for them to actually, you know, perform will be higher. But Nigerians must understand that those who are at the one front, because Boko Haram is it's a war, whether you believe it or not. You know, if you like, call it is not a conventional war. What else do they do in war? Is it not killing? They are killing people there. That's what is happening. So they are at war. Ensure that you give them the right condition for them to be motivated. All right. That when they even want to take this position of a hero dying for their country, let what they are dying for be worth dying for.
Exactly.
All right. We have to leave it here now. Thank you very much, Dr. Danny Kerry, for coming on the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.